Children, the time of ascension has arrived. Oh, for the love of God, haven't any of you ever been in a cult before?
Well, guys, it's finally here. The major movie event of the year has finally arrived. After over a year of build-up, anxiety, and excitement, the Super Mario Bros. Movie has finally arrived. I think I'm with literally everyone else on the planet when I say it's been a roller coaster of emotions with this movie. Ever since it was first announced, people were beyond nervous. For starters, it was being made by Illumination. Yeah, Nintendo could have easily gone to Sony or DreamWorks or hell, maybe just made it themselves, but no. They went to Illumination, the studio that is infamous for making cheap, corporate movies that, while not the most offensive trash, say for Hop, prioritize pandering to the lowest common denominator over making actual art. And then, on top of that, there was the casting. Oh, Chris Pratt. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but what were they thinking? Chris fucking Pratt as Mario? Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong? Jack Black as Bowser! Actually, that was pitch perfect and everyone was cool with it. Nintendo just kept raising red flag after red flag with no intention of going for the one-up. People were honestly kind of scared for this, but also weirdly excited. With so many red flags coming up, it was starting to look like a disaster. A beautiful disaster. This looked like it was going to make history as one of the dumbest, most poorly conceived adaptations ever made. Then the trailer started coming in, and we all flipped on a dime. It looked great. The animation looked better than any other Illumination film. The world, the music, it all just looked great. Even the voices felt right. Even Chris Pratt wasn't sounding as bad as we thought it would. It's just like the Sonic movies all over again. People were scared at first, but then we got convinced. Maybe it's not exactly the same as Sonic, but it's of the same ilk. So after over a year of hype, after being thrown for a loop on whether this movie would go on to be either the worst thing we'd ever see, or maybe the greatest thing we'd ever see, many of you were hoping it would be both probably. After seeing the legend for myself, I can proudly say the Super Mario Bros. Movie is overall solid. Like, it's perfectly solid. It's like a 7 out of 10 at its best. I know. I'm just as disappointed as you are. I was kind of hoping this movie would be terrible too, but it's sadly not. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's not the complete Category 5 tornado we were expecting it to be either. Does it have problems? Yes. Can it be cringe at times? Absolutely. But I don't know. As a Mario movie goes, it's kind of exactly what you'd expect. I mean, Mario has just never really been that deep or complex. He jumps on the Goombas, he eats the mushrooms, he defeats Bowser, and saves the princess. Rinse and repeat for nearly 40 years now, to the point where Nintendo just said, you know what? Fuck it, you make the levels. In fact, do it again. We know you'll buy our games no matter what, so why bother trying to go any deeper? We've already struck gold here. And, fair enough, the Mario games are often great. Not every video game needs a deep, multi-layered story. It can just be a fun game with imaginative concepts and good gameplay. If it's not broke, then don't fix it. And as an adaptation goes, I guess they just chose to stick with that. I mean, let's not forget, people, this is still an Illumination movie, and there are times when the movie will remind you of that. For starters, pop songs. A lot of pop songs. There's like 8 or 9 of them in this movie, and they always show up out of nowhere. It's such a shame because the movie's original score is perfect. It perfectly captures the spirit of the games, being both familiar but also incorporating some really cool changes that really help it fit the movie. From Mario's theme to Bowser's theme to the one they play in the big finale, which I can't bring up because that would require spoiling the movie and I don't want to do that in this video. They brought back the DK rap. They didn't have to do that, but I'm so glad they did. The composers did a damn good job with this movie. But it also makes the pop songs stand out all the more. They come out in the most awkward way and suck you out of the movie. Not to mention, they're just the most typical choices you'd expect. Look, just because I love AC/DC doesn't mean they go with Mario Illumination. Stop being you!
For 5 minutes. Could you not be yourself? For 5!
And then you have Princess Peach. Jesus Christ, what did you guys do to her? Oh, here we go. Another critic who doesn't like strong women. I bet you wanted her to be kidnapped right away. Well, if you read the comics, you'd see that
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
I can already read the comments you're posting, and you can stop it right now. I do not dislike Peach because she's a strong, independent woman now. It's because she's as dull as a hunk of wood. She has no character outside of wanting to protect her kingdom, and that's it. She has zero personality. She isn't funny. Like, how do you not make Princess Peach funny? She's supposed to be, like, super bubbly and optimistic, super feminine, even a bit of a diva. Like, she's actually kind of a spoiled brat at times in the games. But here, I honestly can't remember a single line of dialogue she said, and I just watched the fucking movie. But hey, at least there's Toad, who has a funny moment, and that's it. Yeah, why is Toad in this movie exactly? Outside of his introduction, he serves zero purpose and is only there because, well, he's from the game, so we gotta include him. He also has zero funny lines, and at times, you forget he's even there at all. Mario and Luigi are just okay. Chris Pratt is surprisingly not a bad Mario. I actually found myself getting used to his voice really quickly. It actually fits kinda nicely. Now, would it have been better if Charles Martinet voiced him? Maybe, but for what it's worth, Chris genuinely did a good job. I like that Mario is just this nice guy who likes helping people because he's just cool like that. Luigi is still a coward, which is great. Kinda makes it even weirder how they kept the brothers' personalities intact but completely fucked up Peach. But then you have Bowser. He is easily the best part of this movie by a landslide. I love how they tap into him being in love with Princess Peach and turn him into the biggest simp alive. He is so thirsty for that Peach that he will nuke the entire Mushroom Kingdom just to get a slice of that cake. There's literally a scene where he's playing the piano and singing a cheesy love ballad about Peach, and it is just the right amount of cheesy that it is hilarious. And for him to want to kill Mario just because he's jealous of him is just the cherry on the sundae. It is amazing. They actually managed to balance him out really well. He's both a genuinely threatening antagonist and also so pathetic that you can't help but laugh at him anyway. It's a perfect balance of what we love from Bowser from the games. And Jack Black, of course, did such a phenomenal job voicing him. I can't think of anyone who would have done a better job for this kind of Bowser. Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen, I guess. Are you even surprised? DK is just kind of whatever. They try to build up this rivalry between him and Mario, which is a cool idea considering their history, but it goes absolutely nowhere and has zero payoff in the end. They even bring up the fact that their dads would be disappointed in them to try and have a connection, but that also comes out of nowhere and is never brought up again. So what the fuck? You see, by the end of the day, it's still an Illumination film. It feels like it's just doing the bare minimum in all regards, save for the animation, which is genuinely amazing. This is a beautiful movie that perfectly captures the colorful world of Nintendo and the vibe of the games. But it's still Illumination. They still had a minion in the opening logo, and the vibe is still very Illumination. So I guess with that being said, for something as simplistic as the Mario Brothers, I guess a company as simplistic as Illumination was perfect. I mean, who else would just stick with what works and not try too hard to innovate or break ground other than them? And hey, Mario's worked well enough for almost 40 years now. Like, no wonder Nintendo went to work with Illumination. It was a safe bet. They knew Illumination would never try to mess with Mario. And they also knew it was gonna make money. I mean, it's Mario. Why wouldn't it make money? I know I sounded pretty negative throughout this review, but honestly, I had a lot of fun watching this movie. Kind of in the same way I enjoyed Sonic 2 last year. I know I'm not gonna get some 10 out of 10 masterpiece from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, okay? Despite my issues, I had a lot of fun, and I think it pays great homage to the games and its characters. Save for Peach, of course. They really dropped the ball in that regard. But other than her, everything's solid. The music, the characters, the nods to the universe of Nintendo. Wait a minute. I'm getting a sense of deja vu here. Hey, remember that movie Scoob that came out a few years back? Remember how it shoved a bunch of Hanna-Barbera characters into a Scooby-Doo movie in some weird attempt to start a cinematic universe? This is just that again. I'm dead serious. I mean, think about it. The movie starts off with our main characters just doing their daily routine when suddenly they get all mixed up in this big battle between good and evil. The villain ends up using one of the main characters in order to get something. We see and meet a bunch of different characters from various different sources. There's this fight in this jungle arena with an awkward sounding Captain Caveman. It's just Scoob all over again. The Super Mario Brothers movie just ripped it off. Okay, maybe they didn't rip it off entirely, but still, it's really weird just how similar the story is for both of these movies, and how both could be the beginning of a new cinematic universe. Of course, if it leads to a Smash movie in the future, then I'm totally down for it. Overall, it plays itself pretty safe, and it's still an Illumination movie at heart, but it's definitely one of the better ones. In fact, I dare say it might truly be their best film to date. And it's a 7 out of 10. Let that sink in. I mean, what else is there to even say? It's the Super Mario Brothers movie. If you love Mario, then you'll probably love this movie. And if you're more of a casual or just going to see it because your kid wants to, then you'll still enjoy Mega Simp Bowser. I know I did. Still, I'm a little disappointed. I was really hoping for something really bad to come in and just really knock my socks off with how bad it could be. And yeah, you know where this joke's going.